Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Munich. Good evening to Tokyo. My name is Peter Möhring from the Security Network Munich. A warm welcome to the third edition of the German-Japanese Security Forum. I am so glad you're all here, and I'm so happy that we could set this up despite the difficulties of the current times with the pandemic. This is already the third edition of the German-Japanese Security Forum. The first, of course, online. We tried everything to not miss this edition, and I hope that we will have an interesting forum today. We have more than 20 speakers and set this up in record time. So the focus of this forum will be mainly on industrial security and on data protection and information security. We have great speakers. I hope you can see the program that was set up. It was, of course, like always, in cooperation with the Tokyo office of the Bavarian state government, who has done a great deal in preparing this conference. I would really like to thank, on top of our colleagues in the Tokyo office, our friends here in Munich from InnoByte, Hermann and Timo, who set up the whole technical structure of this forum, which was really challenging, but we did everything possible that this conference will take place, hopefully smoothly. Thank you, a great thank you to Tayama-san and Mochida-san, but also to you, San and Mihoko, who contributed importantly to the program, and also to Wolfgang. So everyone who participated in preparing this program, thank you so much. And I think it is enough said for the introduction. I would like to present you now to Christian Geltinger. He is the chief representative of the state government in Bavaria in Tokyo, and he will have the welcome notes from him. Please welcome Christian Geltinger. Thank you. Unmute. Yeah,
Thank you very much, Peter. Good morning and grüß Gott to everyone back in Germany, in my home Bavaria, and good afternoon or early evening here to everyone in Tokyo. It's getting dark outside already, but nevertheless, we had a very warm, pleasant day. So I hope this atmosphere is also suitable for this forum. As Peter said, I'm here the representative for the state government of Bavaria here in Japan. The office was established in 1988, so it dates quite a long way back. Our relations between the two countries are really crucial. In my capacity, I would have liked to welcome you all, as we did with the first and the second edition here to Tokyo. Usually the House of the Representatives. Peter said, of course, it's unusual times, but nevertheless, the topics remains. And it will be also for the fourth and fifth edition. So I think we have quite a tradition already here. It is my real honor and pleasure also to welcome two members of our federal governments, Mr. Hauptmann from Berlin, and as you can see also Mr. Kiyoshi Minoru from Tokyo here. I like your soccer shirt very much. The thank you is actually the theme also for today. Thank you. So the number 39 has a very positive meaning. And I would not like to forget to welcome also our new Consul General in the Japanese consulate in Munich, Mr. Maekawa, who will be joining us also today, and hopefully also be able to meet in person soon. Peter has outlined that this was put together in record time. I think that's also speaks for the importance of the topics, and we also wanted to make sure that we don't miss out the third forum for this year. We want to have to continue with this dialogue. It's very crucial that we keep in touch, that we keep the dialogue, especially the German-Japanese dialogue. And we are very helpful to build this bridge for this year and the next years and the years to come. So without further ado, I hand over, I think, to Kyochi-san or Peter as the moderator. And again, I would really look forward to welcome you all back to Tokyo as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you again for your great support. While we are still waiting for Mr. Hauptmann to get online, I would like to introduce you now to Kiyuchi-san. It is our great pleasure and honor to have him here opening the forum. He's been at the first edition of the forum that took place 3 years ago in Tokyo. And thanks to him and his constant support, this forum was able to be ever set up and to continue to become a series and a real bridge between both countries. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kiyuchi-san. Please, Kiyuchi-san. So we cannot hear. It's the phone. This is a problem with the phone. Yeah, we need a phone connection with Kiyuchi-san that we can see him on the PC, but he needs to dial the phone. Do you have the number, Kiyuchi-san, that we can
connect you? Press 0 on the phone, please, Kiyuchi-san. Press 0 on the phone, please.
The zero on the phone. Yes, the 0. Okay.
Hello, could you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes.
Now you can hear me. Yes.
Now, yeah, please start.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, you can hear me,
yeah? Yes, we are perfect. Yes. Everyone can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Grüß Gott oder guten Morgen, verehrte Teilnehmer. I am Minoru Kiyuchi, and I am a member of the lower house of the Japanese Diet. I have previously served as a state minister for foreign affairs and currently serve as the general secretary of the German-Japanese Parliamentary Friendship Association. I consider it a great honor that I was asked to give this introductory speech at today's assembly of the German-Japanese Security Forum. This assembly is the third one overall, but the first to be held online, and it is therefore bound to differ somewhat from previous ones. Regardless, I'm pleased to see how many renowned specialists from the field of cybersecurity are able to attend and to share their expertise with us. Please allow me to take this opportunity to express my respect for those who ensure the security of our countries and make the lives of our citizens safer through cybersecurity. As the world struggles with COVID-19, cyber attacks too have rapidly increased. Medical and research institutions have been targeted by cyber attacks, which are assumed to have been executed in order to steal information about the progress and the results of research. As a result of newly introduced policies that allow more people to work from home, the use of services for remote access to company servers and online conferences has increased. This has exposed latent weak spots in data networks to attack. Therefore, we must show no tolerance of any cyber attacks that deliberately take advantage of the world's struggles in coping with COVID-19. Under Prime Minister Suga, Japan will work to advance the digital society during and after COVID-19. We will create a society where those who live in rural areas can do the same jobs and receive the same medical care and education as those who live in urban areas. In order to provide strong leadership for the digitization measures, we have planned across a variety of fields. An agency for digitization will be created, which is set to begin operation next year. However, in order to create a digital society, cybersecurity is a necessary prerequisite. In summer next year, we intend to hold the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics as a symbol of humans' victory over COVID-19. But we are concerned about possible cyber attacks targeting the event. Our shared values of liberty, justice, and the rule of law must also extend to cyberspace. Cyberspace knows no borders, and it is for this reason that I consider German-Japanese cooperation vitally important for ensuring that it remains safe and trustworthy. I have no doubt that today's assembly will greatly contribute to cybersecurity in German-Japanese relations. As I close my remarks, allow me to wish you a productive discussion. Thank you very much. Ich wünsche Ihnen viel Erfolg.
Thank you very much, Kyuchi-san. That was a very inspiring opening remark, and we all do hope that the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games in Tokyo will be celebrated in a way that peaceful and that the sport is the only news, so that no problems, and especially not with cyber, will have any chance. So thank you again for making yourself available. I know you're very busy. The same is true for Mr. Hauptmann, who is still trying to connect to the conference. While this is going on, I would like to ask our colleagues, Hermann, maybe to switch to our next message of welcome of Nobutaka Maekawa. He is he is the General Counsel of Japan here in Munich, and was also making himself available to give a speech to this forum. Hermann, if you could start that video message. Thank you so much.
Dear Mr. Gürtinger, dear Mr. Hauptmann, dear Mr. Kyuchi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Security Network Munich and the state government Bavaria for organizing this forum, as well as to the both members of Parliament of Germany and Japan, Mr. Hauptmann and Mr. Kyuchi, for their patronage. Adding to today's forum, Security Network Munich hosts the Munich Cybersecurity Conference as a side event to the Munich Security Conference every year in February, and hosted this year early the welcome reception for the participants from Japan and Germany. For all those supports and contributions to fruitful exchanges in the field of cybersecurity, I would like to thank for the organizers profoundly. Today, the corona pandemic is accelerating diffusion of digital technology in our routine business, accompanied by mounting cyber attacks which make use of digital loopholes, eventually leading to suspension of critical infrastructure. The cybersecurity measures are urgently important. Japan took measures early on by establishing a cybersecurity fundamental law in 2014. This year, July, the Cybersecurity 2020 was decided for the purpose of detailing challenges to be tackled in the area and necessary measures to take concerning cybersecurity in supply chains. Turn to Europe. As regards security regulation pertaining to 5G in Germany, a revision of IT security legislation is currently under discussion, which attracts quite a lot of attention. Since May 2018, the General Data Protection Regulation has been enforced in EU member states, and thus protection of personal information will become more important from now on. To prevent unilateral dependence on cybersecurity technology and to ensure digital sovereignty, the project GAIAX has been promoted in Germany with EU, aiming at establishing a EU-wide secure data infrastructure. The state Bavaria has been the major driving force of German innovation. In the area of cybersecurity, Nuremberg is hosting Europe's leading trade fair for cybersecurity, the ITSA. In 2018, the Information Security Hub was opened at Munich Airport, offering companies an opportunity to train and educate their staff on cybersecurity attacks. We may well expect exchange between Japan and Germany in this area for the coming years. I conclude my remarks by expressing my expectation that today's event will promote better understanding of participants regarding cybersecurity as a good step for further Japanese-German variable cooperation in this area. Thank you very much for your attention.
So we have a connection now with Mark Hauptmann, Member of Parliament at the German Bundestag. He will connect now through a phone line, and because for some reason could not access the conference system, and I hope Mr. Hauptmann can start talking now. I will just shut up and see if we get the phone connection live.
Er muss nur noch. Ja, wir können Sie hören. Jetzt können wir nicht mehr hören.
Can we unmute him remotely?
Unfortunately not. To press here button.
Ja, also einfach auf die 0 drücken. Jetzt, genau, jetzt kann er sprechen, jetzt kann er sprechen. Einfach sprechen. Er ist. Ja.
Hallo, können Sie mich hören?
Ja. Ja.
Okay.
Ja. Ja.
Sie sagen, wann ich loslegen soll oder wie das funktionieren soll.
Sie können loslegen.
Okay. So, welcome, dear participants, to the third German-Japanese Security Forum. I'm a little bit sorry that it didn't work out regarding my connection, that you can also see me, but I hope you can at least hear me. My name is Mark Hauptmann. I'm a Member of Parliament for the CDU-CSU Parliamentary Group, and since 7 years, member of the Committee of Economy and Energy. And I'm honored to welcome you at the third German-Japanese Security Forum. I'm happy to be a patron of this important event for the third time. And I remember that when it happened for the first time, we met in Tokyo in person, and in times when we cannot meet in person, but only in a digital way, you have a sort of a crying eye if you look back and remember back of good old times when we could also meet in person. But I'm very thankful to the organizers that they used the opportunity to organize this security forum also in a digital way, because Germany and Japan are very close partners, and this close connection, whether it's in politics, economy, society, this is really a value-based partnership. If you look at our democracies, freedoms, human rights, the rule of law, free trade, and especially after signing a free trade agreement between Japan and Germany, Japan and the European Union with Germany, this is really a partnership on a new level. But we also face, as value partners, common challenges, whether it's the demographical change with the aging society, declining birth rates, technology in progress, digitalization. All this already played an important role, but the corona pandemic worked here as a catalyst for these trends. And the trends that you are discussing also today, whether it's industrial security, data protection, those are the cornerstones in our technology-driven economies. And this is why it's so important to have a dialogue and to have a cooperation cross-country, because I believe that we can only provide answers to those challenges if we not only have the dialogue within our countries, but among our countries and with our value partners. And I believe that Japan and Germany must deepen this exchange to face all those challenges. I myself host every year a German-Japanese business dialogue. And we had the last event in March 2020. And it's also my pleasure to take place in this dialogue among friends and also to intensify our mutual exchange. The German-Japanese Security Forum is an excellent platform to foster the exchange in the field of information and cybersecurity. And if you look at the cybersecurity issues, you can only see one direction where it's going in the next years. It's increasing, it will get more important, and also the technologies behind it will make it more difficult to protect small entrepreneurs, to protect the infrastructure of states, and to protect our citizens. Therefore, I think now is not the time to rest on achievements, but to inspire a new momentum and to build even more bridges between our two countries, especially in those challenging times. And this is why I hope that you will have an inspiring exchange and inspiring discussions here with the third German-Japanese Security Forum. So I wish you all the best, and I hope that together with your cooperation, we can find the answers for common challenges ahead of us in the next years to come. All the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hauptmann. Indeed, I remember the first forum in Tokyo where you were also present and together with Kiyuchi-san patronizing this event. On the patronizing side, I must mention now also the two ministries of economy, the one in Germany and also the one in Tokyo, METI. Yes, and really, it's really important to have also on your side from the Houses of Representatives this support and understanding actually too, because it is not just a business or industrial topic. It is definitely a part of the political strategy and policy making catalog. And once again, thank you so much for joining and supporting this forum. Thank you.
It's my great pleasure, and I take back all those issues, also back to the ministry, but also to my colleagues in Parliament. So the work that you're doing is not only remarkable, it's important for our political work as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, then regards to Berlin, and we will continue now in the program. Our next speaker is Mr. Junichi Eguchi from METI, the Ministry of Technology, Economy, Trade, and Industry in Japan, as I just mentioned. And if Mr. Eguchi is online, I will be happy. Yes, here he comes. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Eguchi. I'm very happy you could join this forum, and we are looking forward to your speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you for organizing this forum and inviting me. My name is Junichi Eguchi. I'm Deputy Director General for Cybersecurity and IT, Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry, Japan. Okay, METI has been working to ensure cybersecurity in industry sector, including promoting and enhancing supply chain risk management and safeguarding industrial critical infrastructure. Today, I'll share with you some insight identified through our recent initiatives on industrial cybersecurity. METI released METI released Cyber Physical Security Framework, in short CPSF version 1, in April 2019. In order for Japanese industries to address appropriately new cybersecurity threats created in Society 5, where cyberspace and physical space would be highly integrated and supply chain would be formed in a more dynamic and flexible way. In the conventional supply chain model, our production flow is simple and limited within a closed business community. There all workers know where each other and they don't need to care much about cyberspace. Therefore, security of the entire supply chain can be ensured so long as each member of such close community has taken proper security measures respectively. However, since we face new risks, spreading the surface of cyber attacks and increasing impact of such cyber attacks into physical space in Society 5, we have to ensure trustworthiness in 3 layers. I mean, trustworthiness of organization's management in the first layer, trustworthiness of transcription function between cyberspace and physical space in the second layer, and trustworthiness of data in the third layer. Based on these understandings, we developed CPSF as a common framework that each company and organization in any industry can identify and clarify what kind of new risks should be considered and which measures should be taken in the new environment. In addition, we launched 5 sector-specific sub-working groups because each sector needs its own guideline for its practical use, taking into account sector-specific elements such as its business characteristics and system structure. 4 of 5 sub-working groups have already edited or revised their own guidelines based on CPSF. In addition, we launched 3 task forces to address across-sector issues. One is data management, one is software management, and and third is IoT security and safety, in order to ensure supply chain-wide trustworthiness. Today, I'd like to focus on the second layer task force. Second layer task force has been dealing with IoT security and safety issues. There are many types of IoT devices, some for consumer use and others for industrial use. The level of security and safety required for each IoT device is also varied. Therefore, as a first step, we conducted a kind of mapping exercise on IoT devices based on two elements. One is a potential economic impact caused by IoT-related incident, and second, difficulty of the recovery from such incident. Then, as a second step, we created a framework to consider what kind of security and safety requirement and measures should be introduced given the level of potential damages and difficulties of recovery from such damages. We released a draft IoT security safety framework in short IoT SSF in March this year and conducted a public comment procedure until late June. Through reviewing about 100 comments from both Japanese and international stakeholders, we released the final version of the IoT SSF on November 5th. So please check it and use it for your reference. Lastly, let me introduce our initiatives named Supply Chain Cybersecurity Consortium, in short, SC3. Recently, attackers target weak points in supply chain in much larger scale and in more sophisticated way. Although each company is taking effort for itself, but it's not enough. Important to motivate SMEs in supply chain to take cybersecurity measures and strengthen cybersecurity of entire supply chain. Therefore, SC3 was established on November 1st, this month. The president of SC3 is Mr. Endo Nobuhiro, Chairman, Committee on Cybersecurity, Japan Business Federation. 74 associations and 59 companies have joined as of November 1st, such as Japan Business Federation, the Japan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Japan Association of Corporate Executives, and major sectoral industrial associations. We expect industry-wide discussion and movement by both large enterprises and SMEs in order to strengthen cybersecurity of whole supply chain. So my time has come. Betty will continue to promote CPSF-based initiatives in cooperation with relevant domestic and international stakeholders to ensure industrial cybersecurity. I hope this forum is fruitful for all participants. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eguchi-san, for this overview on the role of METI in that strategic topic of information and cybersecurity. As I said before, it's not only a issue of technology development and industry standardization, but very much also a policy making and the role of setting the right frameworks for all the players to be set up. thank you so much for making yourself available, and I hope to see you then for the next forum, hopefully again in person. So my warmest regards to you, to Tokyo. Thank you so much, Iguchi-san, for joining this forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It is my great pleasure now to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Norihiko Maeda-san from Japan Network Security Association, one of the most important industry associations in Japan dealing with information and cybersecurity. A very good evening to you, Norihiko. He is also with the company FFRI, one of the leading providers of information security technology in Japan. And I'm very glad that you could make it today to our forum. FFRI is actually also a partner from day one at the forum, and I'm glad you're here with us today. Nothing else to add. Norihiko, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for introducing. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending, and thank you to the all organizers and speakers to make time for my speech. So, can I share my slide? Okay, so let's start. So this is my profile, but the Peter-san already introduced me, so let's shortcut. Today I will talk about the JNSA, the Japan Network Security Association, and our activities in this year, especially after COVID-19 pandemic. JNSA is the non-profit organization doing network and cybersecurity since 2000. And nowadays, we have over 240 companies for members, and mainly they are doing the cybersecurity and in the cybersecurity industry. And Dr. Tanaka, Hidehiko Tanaka Sensei, is our president, who is honorary professor at the IISEC Institute of Information Security, Japan. And here is our board members. They are from the cybersecurity industry mainly, and the vendors, the suppliers, and the ISP, and so on. And this is the aim of our association. There are the security vendors, the system integrators, ISPs joined together at our association JNSA and try to solve various problems of network security and cybersecurity, and work together in order to make our society secure. We have the 8 committees and 24 working groups in our association. The survey and research and the standardization and education and social activities and so on. And for example, I will introduce our working group activity. So we have the survey incident, security incident survey working group in the and focusing this working group focusing to the individual data leakage. We did this unique survey and publish the reports since 2003. So this is over 15 years, and this working group report is including the price of the compensation. And on the other hand, the aim of the cyber attacker or criminals and the victims' damages are not only individual data leakage, but also the other data leakage and the need for the incident response and the recovery. So the and the cyber insurance also. So we have started now new working group activity for security incident survey in order to estimate whole of the incident due to cyber attack. We will publish a new kind of the report to from this working group maybe in this in next year. Okay. So from here, I will talk about the GNSA's activities in this year. The first, we had the Japan booth at the RC conference in San Francisco in this year, maybe February or March. Actually, we had the same kind of booth last year at the RSA conference, 2019, and we gonna have the more bigger booth in next year. Next is the SecWalk. The SecWalk is the output of our committee, education committee. In this document, to describe the skills which should be obtained by the security researchers or security person. It defined the 400 skills of the security, such as network security, system security, forensic techniques, or governance, management, and also and so on. And 16 roles, such as CISO, the researcher, the consultant, security consultant, and so on. And now I will introduce the English version. We have the published in this year on March. You can check on the GNS page, GNSS page. And next is the security checklist for post-emergency of the COVID-19. This is the checklist administrators, network administrator or security administrator, and we have published its manual also. But we have we are sorry, we are very sorry, it's Japanese only. There are the 4 main indexes and several items in this checklist. Okay, this is the website of the checklist. And next is the RB, how to say, the soft and nice contents published from the GNSA on the official GNSA Twitter account, the cybersecurity comic online. It is for the maybe beginners or younger people to understand the cybersecurity more easily and friendly, but more exactly. You can check this contents also on the website. I'm sorry, on the Twitter of the GNSA officially. And next is the SecCom, called SecCom. This is the security contest we have held for several years. In these several years, and in these years we cannot gathering. We cannot gather, so we did the online event. The CTF captured the flag contest in this October, the 2 days, and you can check this CTF to archives online at YouTube. Okay. This is very, I'm sorry, very shortly, but this is the main activities in this year of JNSA. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maeda-san, for this overview of JNSA and its activities. I think this is an inspiration for us, maybe to use also manga-style awareness features, because as you know, it is not so much that we would not know what to do, but to actually do it. And maybe one way of communicating this in a more efficient way, especially with also younger boys and girls, could be actually this comic style awareness comic strip. Thank you so much for joining us, Maeda, and it was a pleasure to have you, and I hope to see you soon again next year in person when things are getting better. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and it is my great pleasure now to come to our first panel today. We have two, and the first one is on industrial security. And I will hand over now to Steffen Zimmermann. He is responsible for the Competence Center on Industrial Security at the German Manufacturing Association, VDMA. Anyone who has ever been involved in cybersecurity has met him for sure. He is one of the leading heads and makers of this very important collaboration work. Welcome, Steffen. Ladies and gentlemen, I pass over to you now and have a nice, interesting panel. Thank you.
So I should unmute. So hello from my side. Thank you, Peter, for having us. Today we have 4 panelists with me. My name is Steffen Zimmermann. I'm responsible for industrial security at VDMA, the German Mechanical Engineering Industry Association located in Frankfurt. So our members are roughly 3,000 companies in the field of manufacturing. And today I have with me 4 known experts, 2 from Germany and 2 from Japan. So welcome with us Mr. Wolfgang Klaassen, Dr. Wolfgang Klaassen from Siemens. He's head of embedded security at Siemens, located in Munich. Hello, Wolfgang, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
Yes, very good. Thank you. Then we have Mr. Takeshi Yoneda-san, the chief engineer of Mitsubishi Electric Corporation and also the PCERT colleague from Mitsubishi. Takeshi, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me clearly?
Great. Very good. Good to have you. Then the next one is Mr. André Braunmantel from the German BSI, the German Federal Office for Information Security. He's the head of unit cybersecurity for intelligent transport systems and Industry 4.0. André, can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly, Steffen. Thank you.
Yeah, we too. Great to have you. And the last but not least, of course, is Mr. Hiroshi Sasaki. He's senior expert and part of the Cyber Tech Lab at the Industrial Cybersecurity Center of Excellence under the IPA. Hiroshi, can you hear us?
Yeah, clearly. So can you hear me?
Yes, very good, very good. So
yeah,
technically, everything is okay for us for now. And Let's start out with a short introduction on how does it work now. We have 3 parts of this panel. So first we start with the past. Why is industrial security so important for us? And what are the challenges of industrial security in both Germany and Japan? Then we go to the present view. So how do Japan and German experts join and work together? So this panel is more or less about how are we working together from both sides of the world. And at the end, we come to the future view. What can we expect to see personally from the experts' view, and of course on industrial security view from Germany and Japan. So let's start with a short well, it's not, can I put my things forward here? I cannot change the slide. So there's only, I have to, okay. I have to change to, now it works. So can you see it? Yes. Okay. I have seen the slide from FFRI, from the colleague before, and there I've seen that there were some figures on industrial security. So my figure here I want to introduce to everybody is something that we have shown already in last time as we were in Tokyo for I think this was the 2nd German-Japanese Security Forum. And we had asked our members at VDMA, so the machine manufacturers, of the consequence of successful attacks, and already 39% said production downtime is raising. And quality losses also faced 19% of the companies. So these are quite interesting numbers because these are only focusing on incidents in industrial security, not IT security, but industrial security, which is our topic today. And I think we started with industrial security discussion in real world in 2010, when there was a so-called Stuxnet raising in the world. And Stuxnet was a big thing at Siemens. And this leads me to my first question to Dr. Wolfgang Klaassen, because he's at Siemens. And in your opinion, my question is, how has industrial security evolved since Stuxnet in 2010?
Yeah, thank you, Steffen, for this question. What I think, in my opinion, is that awareness of customers and partners has been increasing during the time. Partners in this regard means all participants within the supply chain through the whole life cycle of a product or solution that comprises component suppliers, software suppliers, customers, operators, policymakers, because it's very important to realize that cybersecurity is a task for every participant, and not only for one of the members or nodes of the supply chain. And also has to include politics, administrations, and associations, as you know. I think that this time more capacities and funding is being provided for security matters, but what we also know, business cases which include security are still difficult. People realize at the meantime that industrial security is different from classical IT security because of the different life cycles of the products and components, because of some constraints like real-time constraints and also safety constraints, which is not the same, has not the same meaning in office environments where classical IT security is applied. We also see that digitalization is definitely a driver. It's very important also to secure the relation between so-called digital twins and the physical world. It also comprises cloud security, which has to connect it to the industrial shop floor and industrial area. So one good thing which is being realized, at least in our area, is that more and more industrial security is being taught within the universities, yeah, where you know people how to specialize in these questions. And last not least, when we ask about, is it more dangerous than 2010? The answer always, it will happen. Security breaches will happen. You simply don't know when. And what I personally expect, that more and more people want to make money with attacks. And I think we have to expect and face an increasing threat coming from organized crime, which is targeted against industries.
Okay. Thank you, Wolfgang, for your view on that topic. As you mentioned, the part of people need to get the knowledge. That's also maybe a problem in Japan. Sasaki-san, I want to ask you next question. Of course, the culture is aging, so the age of the people in Japan is rising. So that's not only the challenge of the society, but we also have challenges in cybersecurity. What do you currently see as the greatest challenges for cybersecurity?
Thank you so much for your question, Stefan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So with COVID-19 era, digital transformation, DX, is accelerating more and more in Japan. So we need to do a lot of things remotely and automatically. The trend causes the management scope of cybersecurity of the company is rapidly extending to the outside company. This is the greatest challenges from my view. For example, IT system moves from on-premise system to the cloud, and OT system, Wolfgang said, factory automation and the process automation system is promoting the predictive maintenance and the remote maintenance. So that is also the outside company. And product and service produced by the company also becomes a big area for the cybersecurity management. So for example, the incident response and vulnerability management after selling the product. So promoting DX is changing the management scope of cybersecurity of the company, but it cannot be handled with the general IT security, technology, knowledge, and experience. This is my answer of your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasaki-san. Yoneda-san, as representing RI, how do you see the situation in the Japanese industry? Do you think your IoT infrastructure is cyber safe?
Okay. I don't think Japanese IoT infrastructure is cyber safe enough. However, we started protecting our IoT infrastructure seriously because of two security incidents happened in this year. The first is the cyber attack to the production systems of Honda automotive company on last June, and it was the first time targeted attack to Japanese production systems. So this incident caused us to establish not only PPAT but also factory start. And the second is the LIP20, and also last June, LIP20 is 19 vulnerabilities found on the TCP/IP stack from Trek company for embedded devices. And a lot of embedded devices from suppliers, including my company, were affected. And by LIP20, we noticed that the importance of vulnerability handling with suppliers. And also we noticed that we should check vulnerabilities of suppliers' products before using and installing. So by this event, we are really aware of supply chain security and the security for production system. So this awareness of security will make Japanese IoT infrastructure cyber safe in the coming few years, I think.
Okay, thank you, Yoneda-san. You mentioned an interesting point because constrained devices, so devices with a less ability to compute or to have updates, might be a big problem, not only today, but also in the future. and supply chain security is a big issue too in Germany. Given that, André from the BSI, BSI started the talk about a scheme, a protection scheme already in 1994. So there's a German BSI baseline protection scheme. Nowadays, also industrial security has been integrated as a distinct part. So how do you see the change in risks over time as representative of the federal German authority for cybersecurity as BSI is?
Well, thank you, Stefan, for your question. The main change is we have now digitalization in all areas of production and IT, and well, digitalization brings new technologies, and new technologies always bring new risks. So we have to cope with a lot of new risks and have to handle them. On the other side, we see that the attackers evolved. At the first time, we had more or less friendly hackers, which have now evolved to highly organized and professional crime. And so we see that we have constantly rising efforts and investments in IT security and related protective measures. But still the overall IT security situation is still getting worse. And we also observe that we have still problems with the basics. So raising awareness is always a topic, or as in 1994, raising awareness is important. Yes, this has not changed. Yes, do the basics, be aware. That's the baseline. But what we always perceive is, especially in the area of industrial production or IT security, is a lack in competence. Skilled people are missing, and the tasks are very, very demanding. So cooperation to share competence, to share people is crucial. For this is a problem. IT security is a problem for all of us, and not for single individuals or companies.
Yes, that is very true words. At least security is not a key function of machines manufacturers or automation manufacturers. Of course, safety was also a long time not a crucial part of it. So we might lead somehow from the safety part, but we also have to lead in the security part. So this is something where Germany and Japan are good at. So it's time to focus now on the second part of our panel. This is the German-Japanese joint work. So let's start with Yoneda-san. From Japanese side, this is the RRI, the Robot Revolution Initiative, and from the German side, the Platform Industry 4.0. These are working together. So my question is now, why? Because aren't they competitors?
Okay, the why. First of all, manufacturing industry, our RRI scope is the IoT security for manufacturing area. And first of all, the manufacturing industry is one of the most important industries for both Germany and Japan. Okay, and second, the security is cooperative area, not competitive area in general in manufacturing area. And as Stefan already mentioned, because manufacturing supported by security creates barriers, but security itself doesn't create barriers. And third, we share the need of standards and guidelines of security because in order to provide secure products, all engineering chain participants and all supply chain participants have to establish some level of security. So this means we need security guidelines for all participants. And establishing standards and guidelines involves a lot of collaborative activities. So we, PR 4.0 and RRI has been focusing on 3 activities. And first, identifying a new area of standardization of IoT And second, establishing common language to talk about security. And third, harmonizing different initiatives. And I think the current topic, the trustworthiness of organizations and products between PI 4.0 and RRI, and now become the hot issue worldwide. So I believe that our outcome has contributed to understanding what is trustworthiness and how to use the trustworthiness. That's it.
Okay, thank you from your perspective, Wolfgang. As the chair of the German side of the sub-working group on standardization and internationalization at the platform, on which tasks are you and the German experts cooperating with the RRI in Japan?
So Steffen and all our current work is focusing on trusted relationships on a global basis. Yeah, to solve the question, how can we cooperate with trust? How can we establish trusted cooperation very fast in the sense of smart manufacturing, Industry 4.0, and automatically? We work also very heavily on supply chain security. We developed the trustworthiness profile, which will be shown in a demonstrator to the public early next year. Our Japan colleagues are working very heavily on questionnaires, which can be used within the supply chain. What we need to do is, on a global basis, we need to understand each partner's policies and regulations, because in terms of operability, for business cases and also for communication and operation, we need to map them together. And as a matter of fact, I can say, and I'm pleased about that, it turns out to be easier between Japan and Germany than to do this with other countries, as you can imagine. Now, further steps even is how to establish trusted machine-machine communication, what we need when we go in the reality of smart manufacturing, when machines within different sites want to communicate in a trusted manner to each other. And in regard to this, we also, of course, have to work how to identify communicating machine partners. How could an identifier look like? How can we implement the identifiers and the trust anchors in a trusted way? And this, of course, has to be done and defined in the national standardization like in ISO, IEC, or JCC1 areas where we all work together. Also, not only with Japan, but also with other nationalities. So we have a lot of things to do, and we are quite busy in that.
That's fine to hear, Wolfgang. As you mentioned, it's good to talk to the Japanese expert because we talk the same language, at least in cybersecurity. And given that, Sasaki-san, are you available? Because I see he's
I'm available.
Okay, I want to ask you. You might not listen, but Wolfgang was saying that it's important that Germany and Japan speak the same language in cybersecurity. And from your perspective, as responsible for the ICS Center of Excellence, you have a lot of experience in other parts of international cooperation. I have seen that you have some training of employees all over Asia. So can you explain us what was your experience in that part?
Thank you so much for your good question, Stefan. So I'd like to introduce about the good example of the international cooperation for industrial security. Capacity building for the Indo-Pacific people. So please go to the next slide. Yes. So ICSCOE hosted the, actually it's not the Japan and German activity, but it will be a good reference for us. And this ICSCOE hosted the JP US Industrial Control System Cybersecurity Training on September in 2019. So as you see in the figure, so we have we hosted a lot of ASEAN and Indo-Pacific countries to Japan and provided the ICS cybersecurity training for them. And the participants come from the government side and the industry side, such as electricity and oil and the transportation, etc. Actually, so I was involved with the event as a coordinator of the workshop program for sharing the challenges and the countermeasures, and as you said, the languages of the. So we should share. Go to the next slide. So this is a workshop style of this of our workshop seat of our program, and this is a framework for discussing about the challenges and countermeasure in ICS areas. ICS-COE developed for the workshop, and so we use NIST cybersecurity framework and people and the process and product partners. So this matrix can be utilized by the discussing about the challenges and the countermeasures in this each rectangle. And next slide. This is a output image and discussion scene, and you can see. And so we had a group discussion in seven or eight people of each team, and by using the framework matrix. And the big lessons learned is we have the same challenges, even though the maturity level of the participants' country is relatively different, because you know that Singapore and Malaysia and New Zealand are much more ahead than the other countries. But these countries, all of the countries have the same challenges, the same difficulties to have the same language, the same policy, and the same regulations. And so this is a big lessons learned of this on my experience. And just for information, ICS-COE is now planning the next online training for Indo-Pacific region on March in 2021. So we invited EU colleagues, including the Germany, to join the event. So hope that our common language will expand to the Indo-Pacific region. So this is my answer for your question. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your invitation. I will pass it to you, the German manufacturers. So as you can see, if you go into the slides, you cannot read anything. This is also security, because there might be interesting information now here. You have to visit your participate in the training to get the information.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Next question is to Andre again, because we heard now about the situation in Japan. What can you tell us about the current situation in Germany, and how is a joint work with Japan helping us from an authority side view?
Well, thank you. Well, we all have very similar problems. As an example, ransomware is certainly a big problem for all of us. And we had now the COVID-19 disease. And this is, COVID is driving the digitalization very fast, and it's an accelerator in for the problems also. The dependence on digital infrastructure rises, and the availability of these infrastructures is crucial for our industries and for public and people, government. And on the baseline, there is the supply chain for these industries, or for these infrastructures, is a very important problem, or is an important topic. If you have counterfeits, if you have manipulation and backdoors in this supply chain, and you cannot get a grip on it, you will not achieve trustworthiness, what Wolfgang talked in the beginning of this course about. Yes? So trustworthiness and supply chain security, which is crucial for trustworthiness, can only be achieved by international cooperation and harmonization. You need standards, you need test procedures, you need evaluation schemes. And so in this area, I see that the Japanese-German collaboration is takes a leading role, and is role model for the cooperation with other economic areas. As you see in the Pacific area, we see that this part of cooperation is very crucial for the present to get the grip on these on this important part of trustworthiness for supply chain.
Thank you, Andre. Now that let's finish the present view on the cooperation, and now let's take a view on the future. So my question would be, as actually our time is up, but because of the late view on how we started, I think we have 10 more minutes to go. So let's go on. So the question one would be, I would say to Sasaki-san, to the security trends. What future are we heading towards?
It's a little bit hard to answer the question, but it will depend on the COVID-19 situation. But promoting the digital transformation needs more remote access and more IT technology to OT system. So it will be very convenient for the business acceleration. At the same time, it will be also the convenient for the attackers. For example, the firmware update on the air would be a good countermeasure for the vulnerability management. But at the same time, it is a good infrastructure for distributing the malware to the IoT devices. So we need to take care of the trustworthiness among the company-wise and the system-wide and the device-wise. So we have I think this trend will happen in the near future.
Anything to add from the other sides?
Yeah, I have a comment that the need of remote maintenance is surged due to COVID-19. And before COVID-19, the remote maintenance drew attention that by gathering data from machines in the production system, we can achieve early fault detection. And that is the data and AI and the security area. And it's a bit far a few years later. But now we need remote maintenance for production system because employee don't want to go to physical site of production system. And also we don't want other companies, vendor staff to come to our physical site of production system, right? So we have the really crucial need for remote maintenance, but we don't have a good, secure remote maintenance infrastructure. If we easily connect our internet connection to the production system, the ransomware comes. So this is a really important and crucial demand happens now, I think.
Okay. Anything to add from the German side?
Well, Wolfgang, would you start? Or from my point of view, well, what's underlying of all is trustworthiness. And from BSI perspective, of course, trustworthiness depends on transparency. Transparency on security properties of products, components, systems. And transparency is delivered by certification or testing. And you need standards, and not alone standards. You need test procedures, and you need evaluation schemes. So evaluate in one country and recognize the evaluation result in the other country. And this is a big task for the future. And but I suppose we are heading in the right direction at the moment, and especially the Japanese-German collaboration directs in this direction.
Yeah, you can see it with the data privacy perspective, because this is the same in Japan and in Europe. But in the future, we also will discuss more or less the mutual recognition of certificates in the whole world. So is a certificate from Germany good or better or worse than a certificate from Japan? So this is something that we discussed today, but might not be tomorrow. Wolfgang, something to add?
Yeah, of course, we need reliable rules to harmonize international regulation somehow and to be able to judge the trustworthiness of products which are coming from abroad. Certification is sometimes a tricky thing because you have to be aware that at the end the customer has to pay for it. So you need rules which really fit to the business case and to the use case which are targeted, and this is not quite easy as we know for the past. I don't think that reasonable certified products will be a trade blocker. What I would expect and hope that less security or non-security will be trade threshold in the future, that we really know and can trust our products and know that we have high security products available.
Thank you, Wolfgang. So everybody needs to take his or her responsibility on the security part, the manufacturers, also the operators and the integrators, but also the standardization workers and the regulation, of course. So that leads me to the last part here in the discussion. The question 2 of the future view is what's the next in the German-Japan joint work? What do you see? And let's start with Andre.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, at least BSI has a supporting role in this cooperation. We are not so active, but we support where we can. And we perceive that the discussions of our Japanese and German experts are very, very fruitful. And we expect trend-setting results from this cooperation and from the further cooperation coming on. So I'm in good mood.
Okay, good to know. Anything to add?
Yeah, I would like to add some information.
Yeah,
in fact, we will have an expert day at late January next year, presumably a three-day expert day, where also the cooperation between Japan and Germany plays a very important role. And the public will get the invitation to that. I also expect more activities, further activities on supply chain security to bring this to international standardization and to some results we can use on a global basis. And of course, somehow we have to go into this question, how can we identify products to make them available for machine-to-machine communication on a global scale.
Thank you. From the Japanese side, something to add?
Yeah, I have one comment that usually the international standardization process takes long time, and sometimes technology become obsolete, evolve, and standardization standard become obsolete because of the quick change of technology. So sometimes we should provide quickly the security guideline, and for example, by RRI and PR 4.0, and then show the effectiveness by demonstrator, and then attract many people, and then that leads to become de facto standard. And we should sometimes pursue this kind of approach, and I think we have a chance. For example, the trustworthiness, or as I said earlier, the security guideline for remote maintenance of production system. So let's start with just you and us, and start this de facto standard process. That is my proposal.
Thank you. Sasaki-san?
Yes, I will add one thing. So, I work with Yoneda-san in RRI as an observer. So I really exciting to the building up the security questionnaires for the suppliers. That is related to the trustworthiness activity. So Japan is now formulating it, but we asking the Germany side to harmonize our requirements items. So hopefully this harmonization would work. And so the Yoneda-san said these things would be the de facto standard. So this is my hope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This leads me to the last viewpoint of this discussion today. So I will give everybody the ability to have some famous last words. If you are able to start, Andre, we have only a few seconds to go.
Okay, let's make it fast. We all see that we need secure supply chains in all areas of industrial production. And this depends on interoperable and trustworthy identities and identity management infrastructures. And for these, interoperability and trustworthiness is crucial. So based on mutually agreed standards, test specification and evaluation schemes, we don't need international standardization, but we need mutual agreement. And I suppose that this, especially here, Japanese-German cooperation is on the good way and paves the road for many good solution approaches.
Thank you, Andre. Wolfgang?
Yeah, I can make it short. I'm really looking forward to our next physical meeting, either in Japan or in Germany, when the Corona crisis is overcome. And I wish everybody good health and stay safe.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Takeshi-san?
Okay. PR 4.0 and RRI have been discussing interesting topic every month for 2 to 3 hours with WebEx, and we have no NDA, but it works. We could provide a good outcome, and please looking forward to our next outcome on the next year. That's it.
Thank you. Hiroshi?
Yeah, this is a very short one. The most important thing is the trust-based information sharing like this. So we are talking about the trustworthiness. So we should need to trust each other at first. So the face-to-face meeting is very important. So we are very welcome to come to Japan. So thank you so much. So I really enjoyed today's discussion.
Thank you very much. I think this was a very fruitful discussion with a lot of viewpoints. Thank you for every panelist here. And let's sum up that there will be an end of January, an expert day, 3 days of experts meeting, end of January, online, I think. And in March, there will be an online training provided by the ICS Center of Excellence, where also German experts can participate. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day. And let's go back to Peter.
Well, thank you so much to all of you, Stefan, for this wonderful moderation of this interesting panel and great example of how both countries can work together in a very practical and meaningful way. Thank you so much once again, Stefan, for taking this wonderful moderation of this panel. Thank you to all the panelists to make themselves available despite the short notice. Well, our next speaker will be from the German Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. As I said in the beginning, the two ministries of economy are important in this effort to orchestrate our initiatives and programs in improving cybersecurity. We have a video message here from Stefan Schnorr. He is the Director General for Digital and Innovation Policy at the BMWI, as it is abbreviated in German, and we'll listen now to his video message. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to me to warmly welcome you to the 3rd German-Japanese Security Forum on behalf of the German Federal Ministry of Economy. I am pleased that you can hold this forum despite the extensive restrictions imposed by the corona pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, the cooperation between the German Federal Ministry of Economy and Japan is excellent and very important to us. We have been working very closely with our Japanese colleagues since 2016, especially with the MIC and the METI. This applies to cooperation in the area of Industry 4.0, for example, but also to all topics of digital policy. And of course, that includes IT security. 2 years ago, Federal Minister Altmaier and the Japanese Minister for Internal Affairs and Communication, Minister Ishida, add a formal basis for this cooperation. Both ministers have signed a letter of intent that has further strengthened our successful cooperation in the field of digital policy. Our last German-Japanese digital dialogue took place this year in Tokyo in February, just before the pandemic. And we had again an excellent exchange about a common approach to topics such as free flow of data with trust, open internet, artificial intelligence, or IT security. In 2019, we already had a very trustful cooperation with Japan colleagues during the Japanese G20 presidency, also in the field of digital issues. The German-Japanese cooperation is so important right now because the international digital politics is at a crossroads. Like-minded countries like Germany and Japan should therefore join forces on key issues, and that's exactly what we do very successful together. The German-Japanese digital dialogue between our ministries can also provide valuable impulses in the future and pave the way for expanded economic cooperation. It is particularly important to us to closely include the point of view of business and of companies. That is why part of our digital dialogue is both the exchange between governments and with companies. This also reflects the excellent economic relations between our two countries. In this context, I very much welcome the fact that Germany and Japan are already jointly researching the topic of artificial intelligence in the field of autonomous driving. When it comes to IT security, ladies and gentlemen, we at the Federal Ministry of Economy are primarily focusing on small and medium-sized companies. We offer them a number of funding programs for this purpose. For example, within the framework of our initiative for IT security in the business. Because SMEs in particular are not yet aware of the challenges of IT security. But as more and more products are connected in the Internet of Things, the topic is becoming more and more important. We are therefore running an awareness-raising campaign for SMEs in Germany that is specially aimed at company employees. We give companies very practical help to strengthen their IT security. We also support SME with the costs for advice on IT security. In addition to my Federal Ministry of Economy, the German Federal Ministry of the Interior is also very active here. It is in charge of cybersecurity at national and European level. For this purpose, the Federal Ministry of the Interior has presented the draft for an IT Security Act 2.0 in Germany. We are currently discussing this project in the federal government. It should bring additional security in the areas of the critical infrastructure, and in addition, we also aim to strengthen the authorities responsible for IT security so that they can also provide better support to our companies. And we are discussing voluntary national safety labels for IoT products, which are intended to give consumers more transparency as a first step. And in addition to national and European projects, cooperation with international partners, especially in the area of IT security, is particularly important for us. A close exchange is of great strategic importance here, since the threats do not exist regionally but worldwide. In this respect, we are very happy about the excellent cooperation with Japan. Initiatives like the Security Forum taking place today support this cooperation and are important for our mutual exchange. Here, you have an excellent platform to address the relevant topics and to discuss this with the business companies. With this in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all an informative and exciting conference today. Thank you very much, and please stay healthy.
So this was the message from Mr. Stefan Schnorr from the Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy in Germany. And this is concluding sort of the first half of our forum today. And when the first half was focused on information security, especially in the Internet of Things, or the industrial Internet of Things, we are moving now towards information security and data protection. And it is my great pleasure to introduce you to our next speaker, Mihoko Matsubara from NTT Corporation. She is the Chief Cybersecurity Strategist there, and a very frequent speaker at international events like ours. I'm very happy she could make it today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mihoko Matsubara. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is the last page of the slide. Okay, now you can see all of my slides. So thank you so much. So unfortunately, as soon as the pandemic started, now we also began to see the increasing amount of news on cyber attacks, and especially against the healthcare sector. So it made me wonder why we are so vulnerable to cyber attacks, and why especially the healthcare sector is so vulnerable to cyber attacks. And I think there are 3 reasons why that we are becoming more vulnerable to cyber attacks. The first reason is that we spend more time online because we cannot go out so freely anymore, but we still need to stay connected with our family, friends, and colleagues to take advantage of crowd collaboration tools. But it also pushed up the ratio to click phishing emails. So the ratio to click phishing email was less than 5% before the pandemic, but it went up over 40% after the pandemic started. So we are becoming more vulnerable to cyber attacks. And according to McAfee, there's a 600% of increase in the usage of cloud collaboration tools such as WebEx and Teams and Zoom or Slack. And even though that our IT environment has changed so drastically due to the remote working environment, we do not necessarily familiar with how to protect ourselves from new IT risks or cyber attacks, because only about 40% of our global remote workers have received how to deal with such a new IT environment. And due to the ongoing recessions around the world, 40% of global organizations have already cut their cybersecurity budget. So it is getting more difficult for us to do a good job about cybersecurity. And so why the healthcare sector? So unfortunately, the healthcare sector traditionally hasn't spent so much time on cybersecurity, because their IT budget spends on only 3 to 4% of their money on cybersecurity, compared to the 6 to 40% of the IT budget in the financial sector. And one of the best practices to protect ourselves from phishing emails or cyber attacks is to use the email scanning and filtering tools, but almost 90% of healthcare institutions do not use or implement this type of best practices to do a good job for cybersecurity. And the healthcare institutions are just under enormous pressure because they are so stretched and under the enormous amount of the patients from the pandemic and also other types of diseases and illnesses. So it is just so difficult for them to do cybersecurity, even though that they are aware of what's going on in terms of the cyberspace. So you can see the current situation of the cybersecurity maturity level from this NTT's 2020 Global Threat Intelligence Report. And you can see that the cybersecurity maturity level in the healthcare sector is much lower compared to the other critical infrastructure sectors, such as technologies and the financial sector. So there are two types of cyber attacks against the healthcare sector. And one is espionage to steal intellectual property information, such as COVID-19 vaccine information. Why? Because the COVID-19 vaccine makes a big difference in terms of how quickly you can recover from this pandemic and how quickly you can overcome these recessions and how quickly you can be more influential in this global market. And the second types of the cyber attacks going on against the healthcare sector is the more disruptive nature caused by ransomware attacks to paralyze your IT systems and also your business-related information. And this is quite devastating, especially in the healthcare sector, and especially more so in the hospital sector. Because can you imagine that you cannot access your scanning tools or your patient information, which is necessary and crucial to make the necessary medical treatment in a timely manner for your patients, and what kind of disease he or she has and what kind of allergy they have. And if you don't have that kind of information, access to that kind of information in a timely manner, you cannot save lives. And this is quite crucial during the pandemic. But it is getting more difficult, and it is a grave threat to human lives. And just in general, the damages caused by ransomware attacks around the world have been so increasing and getting so bad over the course of the year. The average ransom to pay over the course of the year went up by 60%, and it is a huge jump. And also that average days of downtime is over 2 weeks. And just please imagine and picture yourself that you're in a situation that your company cannot access to any of your IT systems, any of your emails. Can you imagine how angry your customers or your patients or the government institutions would be because you just cannot do your job, get your job done in a timely manner. And it is more devastating in the healthcare sector. And this is not just on the news. It is actually the reality in Japan and Germany, unfortunately. And I'd like to give you a couple of examples from Japan and Germany over the last couple of months. So since this April, several COVID-19 vaccine research and development institutions in Japan have been attacked by spear phishing emails. And also the last month, it was revealed that a Taiwanese branch of a major Japanese pharmaceutical company called Shionogi was hit by a ransomware attack. But I must emphasize the fact that it was not the first time during the pandemic that any of the global hospitals or medical institutions have been hit by a ransomware attack, because it's been happening around the world over the last few years, and people have been so worried about the nightmare scenario. What if the ransomware attacks paralyzed all the critical medical services at the hospital? And what if somebody got killed by a ransomware attack? And it actually came into reality. It is no longer a nightmare scenario. It happened 2 months ago here in Germany. So in September, the Düsseldorf University Clinic was hit by a ransomware, and they had no choice, but they had to transfer all of the patients to hospitals nearby. And one of the patients who needed urgent treatment and surgery was a lady in her 70s. But after she was transferred to a hospital nearby, she unfortunately died. because and then it was diagnosed that due to the treatment delay caused by this ransomware attack. And the law enforcement in Germany is now investigating the case on the suspicion of the negligence manslaughter. So now you can see that how devastating and how dreadful the impact would be, and the impact is actually caused by this ransomware attack. So what should we do from now on? So now you can see that cyber attacks is not just about information stealing. It is also about how to protect our lives, and it is a global shared theme, especially during this pandemic. This is not just about a problem in Japan. This is not about a problem in Germany. This is the global problem. So what we need to do now is to raise awareness. And each one of you listening to this webinar right now, and now learned that this is a real problem. And but I see some silver lining in the dark tunnel, because as soon as the news came out on ongoing cyber attacks against medical institutions, especially hospitals, hundreds and thousands of cybersecurity professionals around the world voluntarily stood up to start sharing cybersecurity information and best practices, and also cybersecurity support for free, making coalitions such as COVID-19 Cyber Threat Coalition and the COVID-19 Cyber Threat Intelligence League. And there have been multiple private companies in the world and started to provide free cybersecurity services and free cybersecurity tools for impacted medical institutions and hospitals. And it is quite commendable. And nobody can do this kind of job on their own. And we especially now need to provide a collective intelligence and collective support for cybersecurity services for medical institutions. And the NTT is actually one of those private companies to provide free cybersecurity services for impacted hospitals and medical institutions during the pandemic. And I really hope the listener on this webinar raise the awareness and start sharing your intelligence and also services for your neighbors and also hospitals and medical institutions in your country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mihoko. This was a very interesting but also a scary insight into the consequences of the pandemic and additional risks because of the situation that we are facing. One question to you, because you have also the strategic view. Is there a lesson that we can learn from fighting the biological virus also in the fight against digital viruses?
So actually, one of the earlier speakers, Mr. Hiroshi Sasaki, published a couple of very interesting and intriguing articles on how to compare the COVID-19 virus and for us to capabilities and also to how to and this is good practices, not only from computer.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure in person then.